We're back for another episode of Crypto Capsule Commentary. We'll answer some of the questions that I get from all of you around the world every week. Hope you're ready, because here we go. This episode is brought to you by Crypto.com, where you can buy Bitcoin and over 100 other cryptocurrencies with over 20 different fiat currencies. New users can enjoy 0% credit debit card fees on all crypto purchases made in the first 30 days. Check out the link above to download the Crypto.com app. Okay, let's start the first questions from Robert from Australia. Henry, what do you think will be the impact of the $600 million DeFi hack on the future of DeFi? Do you think it's going to slow things down? A great question, Robert. The short answer is actually no, for a couple of reasons. One of them is a smart contract risk has always existed in DeFi. For example, in traditional financial services, when you're trading with a bank or a broker, you have counterparty risk, which is you're basically exposing to the risk of that counterparty failing. When it comes to DeFi, it's literally smart contract risk. Is that there's a bug or there's a problem in that code, and that is the risk that you're facing. So pretty much everybody that trades on DeFi is or should be familiar with that risk. So I'm not really surprised of that. I think there's actually some benefits to it. First of all, I think it's going to really put the emphasis on having independent, smart contract audits done whenever in DeFi and any new projects, we need to make sure that that is being done. And second, ironically, this hack reinforced the traceability benefits of crypto. I've always said it, and those of you who follow me for some time know this. If you are trying to launder like $100 million in crypto, it's pretty much impossible. And especially in this case, laundering $600 million was pretty much impossible with all the people watching this. So I think it at least reinforced the idea of how much traceability we have, and that plays a lot of benefits when it comes to money laundering and others. So really, I would say in the short term, no real impact on this DeFi hack. Ironically, on the long term, this hack was beneficial because it implements some of these best practices. So thank you very much, Robert, for that question. Let's go to the second question. It's from James from New York. Henry, do you think that the inclusion of crypto in the recent infrastructure bill in the US will have an impact? A very good question, actually, James. I would say to have an impact, but for very different reasons than many people would expect. I think to give you a bit of background here, in the last $1 trillion US infrastructure bill that President Biden was trying to put in place, there was a kind of a provision where crypto taxes were included because obviously in the US, they need to show how they're going to raise the fund to fund some of these projects, which were basically bridges and roads, and how they're going to fund those. And crypto was one way. They're looking at raising $28 billion. The reason it got included at the end, again, it's a whole different discussion, is more on legislative procedural matters. But I think there's really two things that came out of that actually are important to mention. One of them is that I think the fact that crypto was included in such a big infrastructure bill kind of reinforced the idea that crypto is here to stay. Whenever you can tax something, generally it's here to stay. And I think for governments, they realize there's actually a way they can actually get some tax revenues when it comes to crypto. Second, I would say the thing that really, really impressed me the most with this recent hack was how much the crypto industry in the US has matured and has gotten organized. It was really impressive to see that in the matter of 24, 48 hours, the crypto community in the US was able to come together and actually arrange for 5, 10, and 15,000 calls to senators in the US. You know, in the US, there's a lot of big lobbyist groups. There's a lot of organizations, from the NRA to other organizations who are very powerful. The crypto industry is not there yet, but actually showed really how quickly they were able to actually become a force and kind of a lobby group. I think that was very, very impressive. I think we're gonna look back at the history of crypto in the US. This infrastructural bill moment, if you want, will definitely be part of it. So thank you very much, James, and thank you very much for that question. Number three, the last question today is actually from an anonymous follower from Spain, actually from Madrid. Henry, I recently started creating content videos like yourself, being inspired from you. But what advice would you have for somebody like me who's just starting? What is the things we should watch out for, and what is the best advice you have? This is another good question. And for those of you who follow me on my YouTube pages, I have a lot of videos of how I make my videos, but there's a couple of things. One of them, you need to be fully aware that sacrifices are required. You know, the crypto capsule that you see me every week, that 60-second takes me around 6 hours every week. My newsletter that goes out to over 40,000 people every week now takes me easily 10 to 12 hours. That happens on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, sacrifices a lot of my weekends. My book that I'm almost finished writing, ironically, that book, literally I spent my entire holidays writing that book. So you need to be ready to make those sacrifices. If you're focused on work-life balance and still having a good time and enjoying life, do not get into this content business, because especially at the beginning, it'll be your side gig. You have to do this in your spare time. Second thing is you need to have a long-term approach. I can tell you when I started doing my videos, the first 1-2 years were very difficult. You spend an entire weekend working on a video, nobody watches it on Monday. It's very difficult, and you need to have this long-term approach that you know that actually you're going to see the benefits in the third year, the fourth year. So you really need to be consistent, have this grit, and be really ready to endure the first couple of months that could be quite lonely, actually. And number 3, and this is the most important advice I give to anybody who's creating content, you need to think about your audience. For example, it's easier for me to do a 60-minute video on crypto than a 60 seconds video, but I always think my audience does not have the time. So whenever you're creating content, always put your audience first. If your audience is dedicating you 60 seconds, 60 minutes, or 6 hours to you, you better give them value. So always have that in mind. I always have the audience in mind when I do this video. So that was a great question. Hopefully it was very helpful for you guys as well in Spain. Thank you very much, guys. Again, hopefully these were very useful answers. If you have any question you want me to answer in this commentary videos, feel free to ask them in the comments below or send them by a private DM. I promise I'll get back to you soon. Hope this was useful, and see you all soon for another episode of Crypto Capsule Commentary.